and I'm going to show you how to create that and add it to your theme. So the first thing we want to do is go under the Appearance and the Menus link within WordPress, and this is the custom menu builder. And if you've never used this before, it's something that you might want to get familiar with because you can really do some flexible menus with it. It's a great addition to WordPress. Now the first thing we want to do is give the menu a name. So I'm just going to call it Secondary and click the Create Menu button. And now we need to assign the theme location, and FlexWease has two locations, primary and secondary, and you can assign it to either one, and you could even create a second menu and assign it to your primary menu if you wish, but we're just adding a secondary menu, so we'll add it there and click Save. Now we need to add the menu items that we want to show on the site. Now this custom links is very useful because you can create any kind of links that you want on here and add it to your menu. And there I just created an external link that will link to Google. Now I'm going to add just some categories to the menu just so we have some items shown. And if I save the menu and go to my sample site and refresh, you'll see the secondary navigation shows underneath the header, and that's where it shows up by default. The primary will show above the header and the secondary will show below the header. Now this is the cool part about the menu builder. To create drop-down menus from either your primary or secondary, any menu you're creating basically, you just drag and slide the menu items to the left or the right to nest them underneath a parent. Now what I've done here is I slid this one notch to the right and this one 2 notches. So this one's actually a child of this one, and this one is a child of our Google link. And when I reload, you'll now see we have a drop down arrow under the Google link, and we have our first child link and our second child link. And if we drag this one back and make these two childs, or children rather, of that link and refresh, we now have a drop down menu under this item with 2 children, and our Google link now has 1 child. So that's how you create the secondary navigation menu. Now to style them, you go into your theme options and go under the navigation tab, and if you've worked with your primary navigation settings already, then you should be familiar with how to change the fonts and colors. And the secondary navigation is located below the primary, and most of the options are the same, with the exception of the secondary navigation does not have the styling that the first one does, like the tabs, the reflect, different menus that you can choose from like that. But it does still allow you to change the colors of the menu bar and the navigation alignment, whether it should be transparent. One thing it does add that the primary does not is it allows you to change the height. And if I refresh, now we have a taller secondary menu. And that is really the reason that the secondary menu does not have the same styling as the primary, because all of the primary styles are graphics set to a specific height. And so I chose to allow this one to be flexible height-wise. It just doesn't give you the different styles. But I do have a plugin that is coming out, and it may be available now within the members download area, that you can apply different menu styles to both the primary and secondary menus, giving you a lot more flexibility in the type of menu that you're using. So now if we go back to the options, you can play with all of these colors, and you'll find that they're very similar to what you're used to with the primary menu. The one thing I want to show you is the positioning of the menus. And the secondary has the same options as the primary, so you can go below the header, above the header, or below the feature area. And you can still do that with the primary, so you can get pretty flexible with your locations. Now our primary is above, our secondary is below, and I'm going to change our secondary and put it above the header just to show you how it displays. Now anytime you have the primary and secondary menus in the same location, the primary menu will be on top and the secondary will be on the bottom. And you can change the alignment of those within the same position. So we now have a left aligned primary navigation and a right aligned secondary navigation. The primary menu, you can switch that to any other position. So you can actually flip-flop your menus so that your secondary is on the top and your primary is on the bottom. And that is just a quick run through of the secondary navigation positioning and settings. One other setting that I want to point out that is new for 1.5 for both the primary and the secondary menus is you can now assign a different drop-down menu font size. So you can actually, and I'm going to change both of these real quick, and I'm going to make our primary, or the main menu font size on both the primary and secondary larger so that you can see what I'm doing here. So I'm going to make the main menus fonts 15 pixel and the drop down menus is 11. So you can see that the font size of this text is larger than the text that shows in the drop down menu. And that would apply also to the primary if we had drop down menus showing for that. And that is pretty much everything you need to know to implement a secondary navigation menu in FlexSqueeze 1.5 and above.